We begin here in Germany, where the government has announced it is activating an early warning plan in preparation for possible shortages in gas deliveries from Russia. Economy Minister Robert Habeck said a crisis team was being established to closely monitor gas supplies. This follows Moscow's demand for payment in rubles, which Germany and other importers have rejected. Habeck, who's from the environmentalist Green Party, also urged German industry and households to try and conserve energy.
We are in a situation where I have to say clearly that every kilowatt hour of energy saved helps. And that is why I would like to combine the triggering of the early warning level for gas supplies with the appeal for help to companies and private consumers. You are helping Germany, you are helping Ukraine when you reduce your use of gas or energy in general.
Our political correspondent, Julia Saudali, is with us now outside the German Ministry of Economy. Julia, what is this early warning plan and what does it mean that they've activated it?
So this is part of a three-step emergency plan for energy here in Germany. This that was just activated right now. The early warning alert is the first step of this plan. What it means in practice is that the state is not really getting involved in terms of managing energy distribution and in the country, but it is going to form a crisis team that is going to be made up of the ministry, the Economy Ministry, other authorities, including the Energy Network Agency here in Germany, but also energy companies. And this crisis team is mostly going to monitor the situation here in Germany in terms of gas deliveries and gas distribution, and is going to have to deliver regular reports in terms of the situation. And the other two steps would only be activated if the gas situation would be to worsen.
To worsen, Julia, Germany has repeatedly said it would not stop importing energy from Russia due to its dependence. How concerned is Berlin right now, given this step, that Moscow may shut off its gas lines?
Well, what has been made clear is that there is no reason to panic after this decision. This is just to be prepared in case of a change in Russia's gas deliveries to Germany. What the government is waiting for is this deadline set by Russian President Vladimir Putin. He asked his government, the central bank, and energy company Gazprom to come up with a plan to implement the payment in rubles of Russian gas. Now, the G7 governments, including Germany, have said they will not pay for the gas in rubles. This goes against the contracts to deliver gas from Russia to Germany. And so the government here is waiting to see what decision might come out of Moscow tomorrow in terms of these gas payments. But they are not immediately concerned about the gas deliveries stopping immediately. They're just saying that they are preparing in case.
What else did he say that stood out to you, Julia?
Well, as we heard in that soundbite, he stressed how it would be really important for people and companies here in Germany to start reducing their consumption. Obviously, that is a big topic, and he put it into the perspective of not only helping Germany at this moment, but also helping Ukraine. Now, the government has said, and Robert Habeck, the economy minister specifically, have said that Germany cannot immediately do without Russian gas. They are working to reach a point where they can do without it in the next few years. Right now, they're trying to reduce the use of it, but it will take time. So it would be important for now for Germans themselves to take a step and try to reduce their consumption.
DW correspondent Julia Saudali reporting. Thank you very much for their analysis of this decision to activate an early warning plan should there be gas shortages in Germany. DW Chief International Editor Richard Walker joins us now. Richard, Germany looks to be caught on the back heel here a little bit after years of being criticized, particularly the previous government, for their energy policy.
Yeah, that's right. And that criticism has been international, but also here in Germany, that Germany simply allowed itself to become far too dependent on Russian sources of energy. Oil and gas, also coal, but particularly natural gas, where, as we've been hearing, the usage of natural gas even exceeded 50% from Russia at times. And it's quite interesting. to watch Robert Habeck, so the minister who's been announcing this here, is the minister really in the middle of all of this action about trying to find different sources of energy, because he's from the Green Party, and he's basically been saying, we told you so about this dependence on Russian gas. The Green Party, of course, with its agenda of tackling climate change, wants to reduce fossil fuel use altogether, but in particular, it's been very, very critical of Russia. And in fact, he was hosting an international conference yesterday here in Berlin on the transition towards cleaner forms of energy. And he used very stark language about Germany's dependence on Russia, describing it as being stupid that Germany, in hindsight, enabled this kind of level of dependency to develop. And kind of this problem having been on two levels. First of all, too much dependency on any one country, and then secondly, too much dependency on this specific country. Too much belief that Russia might change, that when you build an interdependence with another country, that you foster a more positive relationship, that this has simply not come to pass. And particularly the fact that the Nord Stream 2 gas pipeline, which became emblematic of the debate around Germany's dependence on Russia, that this was even built after Russia annexed Crimea illegally back in 2014. I think this is seen as really the greatest emblem of this failure.
Talk to us a little bit more about Minister Habeck. He was recently in Qatar. He was recently in the UAE seeking out new energy deals. It seems that Germany has backed itself into a corner. Again, as he said, this was a stupid decision, policy planning with regard to the previous government, and now they're being forced to turn to these countries in desperation. Yeah,
but they have to. I mean, the United States has said that it will increase supplies of energy to Europe, but that's not going to be enough to meet the full shortfall. So Robert Habeck has been in the Middle East, visiting countries which have been criticised very strongly by his party for their records on human rights. And it's been interesting to watch. On that tour, he was making Instagram videos trying to explain to the German people, like, his thinking in doing this. And I think he had a couple of points. On the one hand, he was saying, well, you know, still any relationship with any of these countries is not going to reach anything like the dependence the level of dependence that Germany had on Russia. But also some of the thinking that reflects this German attitude to what's been called Wandel durch Handel, this attitude that you can kind of change countries through trading with them. Some of that was visible in what he said in Qatar, for example, where he started talking about he had been raising issues of workers' rights, workers' representation, pay and things like that, and hoping that that would change in Qatar. So some of that old German thinking does still seem to be there.
DW Chief International Editor Richard Walker. Thank you, Richard. I'm joined now by Rob Watts from DW's business department. Rob, Germany has long been criticized for its reliance on Russian gas. Now Moscow is demanding that Berlin pay in rubles. Why is Moscow asking for this?
You've got to bear in mind that the Russian economy is in real trouble from the sanctions that have been imposed. You know, they've got inflation of over 14%. You've also got the fact that the ruble has lost 40% of its value since the start of the war. And that's what this is really all about. Now, one of the ways that you stabilise a currency, which the Russian government really needs to do, is to increase demand for it. And one of the ways you can increase demand for it is by forcing people who spend a lot of money with you to spend rubles with you. So that's one of the things behind what President Putin himself, because he announced this himself, is pushing. But also you've got the fact that, you know, sanctions make it much harder for Russian organisations, Russian individuals as well, to deal in euros and dollars if they want to trade them with other countries, because there's sanctions in place to stop that. So again, by getting more rubles in, they start to find a way around those sanctions. And that's actually why you're hearing from the Germans, you're also hearing from other Europeans, the G7, that this would undermine the sanctions if Germany were to start paying in rubles.
Talk to us a little bit about how concerned Berlin is right now that Russia might turn off the pipes.
Well, we do have this deadline tomorrow, so it feels like something very imminent. But, you know, this is stage 1 of 3. We've got this, which is, I suppose, an early warning alert, and then you've got the next stage, which is an alert level. But it isn't until the third step that the German government actually starts to step in and to start to make policy that means that households, But importantly, businesses have to change how they're using their gas. So most likely to be hit by that first would be heavy industry, steel makers, because households would ultimately be insulated from this as much as they could be. But we would start to see real problems with how Germany can export its products. And, you know, we already have all kinds of supply chain problems in the global economy. So it's not something that anyone wants to happen. But we are now starting on the road in that direction.
Talk to us a little bit more about households. What kind of impact is going to be, you know, felt by Germans living here?
Well, I mean, you know, the cost of gas in Europe has increased fivefold in the last year. And that's a big way in which Germany gets the energy to households. You know, 15% of Germany's energy comes from gas. Around half of that actually does come from Russia. So as a result of that, gas prices go up. That means bills go up, and we're already seeing that. Germans can't help but notice that their energy bills are already starting to rise, and we are seeing that have a big impact on people's mood here. I mean, there was some research published yesterday on consumer confidence here in Germany, and it's fallen through the floor in the last month, despite the fact that we've seen coronavirus restrictions being relaxed. That should have been something that provided a boost, and things should be looking up in Germany, but actually, people are starting to be pessimistic, not optimistic.
DW Business's Rob Watts. Thank you very much for your insights, Rob.